Here we confront something that has challenged spiritual seekers for thousands of years, the struggle with lust. Interestingly, the more spiritually awake you become, the more intense this battle often feels. But why is that? Why does the person who pursues God most earnestly also wrestle most deeply with desire? Here's what's happening, and I must warn you, this is not the comforting sermon you might expect. This is about seeing the full picture, not just the parts we like to highlight. First, understand this. Spiritual awakening does not make you less human. It makes you more human. Your awareness expands, not only of the divine, but also of the earthly, the sacred and the profane, the angelic and the animal. Before awakening, life is experienced as if half asleep, your senses dulled, your perception clouded. Awakening is like turning up the volume on everything. Suddenly, the birds' songs are clearer, food tastes more vivid, the sun feels warmer on your skin. And yes, desire feels more intense as well. Spiritual sensitivity amplifies everything. When you open your inner eyes, you open them not only to heaven, but also to the full spectrum of human experience. The same awareness that allows you to feel divine presence also heightens your perception of the body's needs. The consciousness that notices sacred beauty also notices earthly beauty with striking intensity. Traditional religious teachers often misunderstood this. They assumed awakening would diminish physical awareness, but the opposite is true. A spiritually awake person experiences everything more deeply: joy and sorrow, peace and restlessness, love and lust. The heightened awareness that comes with spiritual growth doesn't erase humanity, it magnifies it. So when someone seeking God feels desire more strongly than ever, it doesn't mean something has gone wrong. You are simply more alive, more aware, and more fully human. The question is not how to stop feeling, but how to experience your feelings without being controlled by them. The second reason is harder to admit. Spiritual awakening often leads to loneliness. Not because you're superior, but because you perceive life differently. Conversations that once felt natural may now feel hollow. Gossip becomes meaningless. Endless talk about status, money, or appearances seems trivial. Slowly, you drift from the crowd, or the crowd drifts from you. Either way, isolation becomes part of the journey. Loneliness is a unique kind of hunger. When you have no one who understands your insights, when your thoughts feel too vast or unconventional to share, isolation cuts deep. In this emptiness, lust can appear as a bridge to connection. Even temporary, shallow connection feels like relief. Physical touch, shared glances, fleeting intimacy. They offer brief moments where loneliness seems to lift. But here lies the trap. The very path that deepens spiritual awareness can increase separation from others. The human body still longs for contact. Lust promises connection, but ultimately delivers more isolation. Once the moment passes, you are still alone, often more aware of that solitude. Throughout history, many spiritual seekers, monks, mystics, and saints have faced this struggle in secret. They withdrew from the world to seek God and found both divine insight and crushing loneliness. In these moments, desire often appears as a false companion, offering fleeting relief from the emptiness. The third reason is more mysterious. Awakening can make you a target, not necessarily from people, but from the forces that maintain humanity's unconscious state. Call them demons, dark energies, or simply the inertia of ignorance. These forces resist awakening. They do not want you to see clearly or to spread awareness, and they have a powerful tool: lust. Desire can pull you back into unconscious patterns because when it consumes you, clarity and focus vanish. Meditation, prayer, and inner stillness become nearly impossible. You are drawn fully into the body and sensation, caught in the immediate urge to gratify desire. This is why spiritual texts speak of warfare, not metaphorically, but as the real experience of anyone striving to live consciously in an often unconscious world. The battle is tangible, the forces are real, and lust is one of their most effective weapons because it works remarkably well. The fourth reason lies in old wounds, deep emotional injuries carried from childhood, rejection, betrayal, or other early life hurts. Most people go through life avoiding these wounds because facing them is painful. Spiritual awakening, however, brings these old pains to the surface. Feelings of abandonment, shame, and fear of not being loved become more vivid. Desire then appears as a temporary balm. When consumed by lust, There's a momentary sense of being wanted, of feeling alive, of believing, even briefly, that you are enough. But this is an illusion. Lust does not heal wounds, it masks them. Like putting a bandage on an untreated infection, it may temporarily soothe, but the underlying pain remains. Worse, it often adds layers of shame, the awareness that you are using or being used, that desire has become a distraction from true healing. The spiritually awake person sees the entire cycle, the wound, the desire that arises to cover it, and the shame that follows. Awareness alone does not stop the cycle. Sometimes it intensifies it because now you are conscious of the trap even while stepping into it. True healing requires facing these wounds directly, feeling the pain without fleeing into distractions, comforts, or false connections. It is difficult, often the hardest work a person can do. Many, even spiritually aware individuals, prefer battling lust to undertaking this deeper work because lust offers brief pleasure, whereas healing initially demands enduring discomfort. The fifth reason is paradoxical. The very gifts that enhance spiritual awareness can also increase vulnerability. Heightened sensitivity, the ability to feel divine presence, and the perception of interconnectedness expand consciousness, but your body remains human, subject to drives, hunger, and physical need. The higher your consciousness rises, the stronger the pull toward the physical seems to become, as if the universe seeks balance. This explains why some highly spiritual teachers, healers, and visionaries have fallen into scandals of the flesh. Not because their spirituality was false, but because elevated spiritual power paired with unguarded human nature creates a precarious situation, like a tall building without a strong foundation. The key to navigating this is discipline. Not harsh, punitive discipline, but a balanced attention to the whole self, body, mind, and spirit. You cannot soar spiritually while neglecting physical needs. The body requires nourishment, exercise, rest, healthy touch, and creative expression. When these needs are met, lust loses its dominance. When ignored, desire becomes overwhelming, trying to fill multiple voids at once. So how do we live with the intense combination of spiritual awareness and powerful physical desire? First, we acknowledge the battle. Lust is real. The flesh is real. Pretending otherwise only weakens us. Confronting the challenge honestly is the first step toward mastery. Second, we stop fighting alone. Isolation fuels desire and secrecy. Finding even one person to share honestly with, someone who won't judge but will stand with you, reduces the power of lust. It's not confession that works magic, but the breaking of isolation. Third, we attend to old wounds. This means sitting with loneliness instead of escaping it, feeling the sting of past rejection rather than medicating it with shallow connection. Acknowledging abandonment, shame, and fear is painful, but it's the only path toward genuine healing. Fourth, we practice presence with our desires without acting on them. This is one of the hardest disciplines. The instinct is either to indulge desire, leading to shame and emptiness, or to suppress it, creating future explosions. Instead, we observe desire as it arises and passes, like watching a storm from a safe distance. Feeling the intensity without reacting cultivates transformation, not by fighting lust, but by neither feeding nor resisting it. Awareness itself begins to shift the energy. Finally, we remember that we are not our battles. We are not our desires, shame, or struggles. We are the awareness in which all these experiences arise. Like the sky observing changing weather, the storms come and go, but the sky itself remains unchanged. Resting in this awareness even briefly reduces the power of lust to define us. The spiritually awake struggle not because they are failing, but because they feel the full intensity of being human. Sensitivity amplifies every emotion and desire. Isolation increases exposure to these feelings. And yet, this struggle can become a teacher. It reveals where healing is needed, exposes the emptiness of false connection, humbles us about our assumptions regarding the flesh, and deepens compassion for others facing their own challenges. The struggle with lust is not a sign of spiritual failure. Often it is a sign of spiritual growth, an indication that you are becoming more aware of what it means to be both spirit and flesh, both divine and human. Be gentle with yourself. Be honest about the struggle. Seek support when necessary. Attend to old wounds. Practice presence with your desires without letting them control you. And always remember, you are not alone in this journey. Every mystic, saint, and truly awakened person has faced the same path. The body may be weak, but the spirit, when nurtured properly, is stronger than any temporary desire. And the awareness that observes both body and spirit, the consciousness that watches the ebb and flow of all impulses, is even stronger. Lust may continue to arise, challenges may persist, but when you recognize that you are the awareness within which all experiences unfold, the struggle no longer defines you. You are not your desires, your shame, or your mistakes. You are the observer, the witness, and the conscious presence that can navigate both the divine and the human aspects of life. The spiritually awake do not fight lust to punish themselves. They engage it to understand themselves, to heal, and to grow. Through this, awareness deepens, compassion expands, and life becomes richer in both its sacred and earthly dimensions. The journey is difficult, yes, but it is also the path to truly becoming fully human and fully alive.